Well, it is a good question, but I mean, I try to lay out why I think it has happened, and I give examples like, the British example, which I think is in some ways the most pertinent, because Britain dodged the 2015 crisis, but had already, during the late 1990s, from the Blair era onwards, massively increased immigration into the UK, against the wishes of the public. And I think it's a set of things. I mean, there is one deep underlying one came up, again, this is something which, people could easily say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, except it was written by somebody involved, is the former Labour speechwriter Andrew Nether's famous comments when he said that, having been in the meetings of the Blair government in the early 2000s on immigration, he said that he came away with the impression that there seemed to be some underlying thing that wanted to increase immigration because it would rub the right's nose in diversity. That was the phrase he used. And I think there is an element of that. I'm not sure it's the only one by any means. It's certainly not the only one. But there's certainly an element of that. Get with the beat. It goes back to this point I make about this strange modern elite European assumption that we in Europe have a hole at our heart somewhere that needs filling. And that whereas to go to India and say, it seems to me you could really do with an injection of Danes, would be presumptuous and slightly surreal. Nice though you all are, but I mean, it would be a bit odd. And they say, but why? What's? I mean, with all due respect, what is it you're going to? But if you said, well, India, it's not that much, you're not got that much in the way of culture and civilization, and you can do with a bit more diversity. I mean, try that one. You wouldn't sort of try it anywhere else, but there is this, and I think it has some very profound roots, and I think one of them is one of the lessons that some people took from the 20th century, which is, by the way, I'm staggered at the number of people I now meet who basically agree with the following proposition. White men kind of screwed up, so we should kind of hand it over to whoever's next in line. I literally, somebody said that to me the other day. So a completely compos mentis, sane white man. I kind of feel like we blew it, so, like, whoever wants the keys. And I'm just staggered by this. First of all, because there's this endless question in it of, like, do you know what the rest of the world is like? Have you ever been there? Do you know anything about history and what it was like? And how lucky and precious this thing we have here is? Do you know any idea of it? It's like, yeah, but it's like our societies are quite unequal. Compared to when? Compared to where? Where was the nirvana? Where, like, everyone was a billionaire? And, everyone could get on the housing ladder at the age of 18. Like, when was that? And there's this set of presumptions that have gone unbelievably deeper than I thought they ever could. We mucked up, like, let's let other people have a go, and it's going to be interesting and more diverse. And I mean, by the way, sorry, this is sort of not to answer your question, but just say something I think is quite interesting. This happens at the moment, and I was at a conference the other day in London. It's just fascinating. Right? It's called Women in Business. Women Mean Business. It was Women in Business. And it was one of those fascinating things which shows up all of the troubles of our time, where like 450 women who are unbelievably successful and doing really well, like, have a conference to talk about their oppression. And you just go, and and I sort of say, but you're all doing well. I mean, you know, and then they say, you know, but, you know, it's unfair. Again, compared to when, compared to where. Not to say you can't improve things, but then our whole societies are going to go through this amazingly painful era. And it's because we're going to work out that none of these hierarchical structures we've been fixating on work. They don't work because they all go against each other. So I said to these people, I said, look, I wouldn't like to hazard a guess, but I think you probably all come from quite good backgrounds, or at least you're in the top percentile of population. So you should be worrying more about class mobility, because there seems to be very little in a room like this. And I'm like, oh God, you know. But there are all these things, and then of course, you know, it's the same thing with racial mobility. You say, look, we need more, you know, black people on our board, and then you discover the black people you have on your board are like the nephew of the Nigerian president, you know, because it's just like very well off, lucky people, and therefore the hierarchy doesn't work because it keeps shifting. So all this, but this is just a long-winded way of saying, I do think that at a fundamental level, the adults have left the room. They've just left the room, and this is a source of permanent grief to me, and in some ways an opportunity for whoever is there in this room or outside it to take advantage of that and say, well, okay, if there's no other adults standing, I suppose I'll have to do the job. But I'm amazed at how few people are doing the job. I mean, Jordan's doing an amazing amount of the job. He's like carrying masses just on his shoulders. And then other people, you sort of don't expect them to be the adults. I never particularly cared for Germaine Greer. And now I just think, oh, thank God for Germaine Greer. Like she's one of the only adults left in the room, you know, who, if she says something and somebody says, I find that kind of offensive, says, so what? You know, and Camille Paglia and a few others. There's just like, but I could name them, and most of them are in my phone, and that's really worrying. But there's this key thing that in all of Western democracies, the adults left the room, and just, you know, we've got to fill it up again.